All right, well, Tony Costa here from Toronto Apologetics. So glad that you could join us. I'd like to encourage you, if you're not done so already, to subscribe to the channel, Toronto Apologetics. It's absolutely free. Also to like the video and to share it as well. Today, I want to talk to you about three common mistakes in the Qur'an about the Trinity. The Trinity, of course, is a foundational doctrine of the Christian faith that maintains that there's only one true, eternal, infinite, omnipresent, omnipotent, omniscient God who is three persons in one being, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, three distinct persons who are co-eternal, co-substantial with one another. The Quran, of course, pretends to talk about the Trinity, but the word Trinity, in fact, never ever appears in the Quran. And so when Muslims say that the only way you could read the Quran is to read it in its original Arabic, I ask my Muslim friends, where does the word Trinity appear in the Arabic Quran? The word Trinity never appears. So I'm going to talk about three common mistakes that the Quran makes about the Trinity. And we're going to look at three separate passages from the Quran where we can corroborate this. So let's begin. The first portion we're going to look at is the Quran, Surah 5, verse 73. Quran, Surah 5, Ayah 73. This is, of course, the fifth surah is Surah Al-Ma'idah, the surah of the table. They surely disbelieve who say, Lo, Allah is the third of three, when there is no God save the one God. If they desist not from so saying, a painful doom will fall on those of them who disbelieve. So the Quran here addresses a group of people who are disbelievers. They're disbelievers because they say Allah is the third of three. And then it goes on to maintain there is no God save the one God. And then there's a warning giving that those who say this, if they don't stop saying this, then they will have a painful doom fall upon them. Mistake number one, the audience here that is being targeted is seen by commentators and others in the Hadith as the Christians. But notice what it says, the disbelievers, who implicitly here are the Christians, they say Allah is the third of three. Now the question is, what does the three refer to here? In the Arabic, it's the word talatha, which is the Arabic word for three. Who are the three? Three what? Is it three whos? Three whats? What exactly does the three refer to here? And what does the word third refer to? Well, the first thing to note is that the Trinity maintains that there is only one true, eternal, ever-living God. But within the Godhead, there are three persons. God is tripersonal. So we believe there are three persons in one God, not three gods. The other problem is when it says that Allah is the third of three. None of the persons of the Trinity are a third of three. The Father is not a third of three. The Son is not a third of three. The Holy Spirit is not a third of three. This is a heresy known as partialism, the idea that God is made up of parts, or the Trinity is made up of three parts, like the terrible analogy that a number of Christians try to use, like the egg. They try to compare the Trinity to an egg that has a shell, that has a white, and then it has the yolk. That is not the Trinity, and nor is it a good analogy for the Trinity. And so an egg is made up of three parts: the shell, the white, and the egg. But those three parts are not necessarily related to each other. I can crack the eggshell and throw it out and cook the white and the yolk. And there you have scrambled egg or a boiled egg or a fried egg, whatever it may be. The point being here that this verse of the Quran is saying that disbelievers believe that Allah is a third of three. So the question is, who are the other two? And so the problem here is the Quran confuses the Trinity with a heresy called partialism. Christians do not believe that the persons of the Trinity are a third of the three. The other thing we need to understand is that when Muslims refer to Allah, they usually associate Allah with what the New Testament calls God the Father. And you'll hear many Muslims say in the New Testament, Allah is called Father, even though the New Testament, they allege, is incorrect to call him Father. But many Muslims will identify the Allah of the Quran, they will claim that he is the one referred to as the Father in the New Testament. And it's for this reason that they'll quote passages like their favorite pet text, John 14, verse 28, where Jesus says, the Father is greater than I. And so Muslims will quote that passage, and the implication is the Father there, they take to be Allah, that is the one true God, even though they don't want to attribute the title of Father to him. But that's the way they interpret the New Testament. So references to the Father in the Bible, in the New Testament, they take that to refer to the one true God. And so when Jesus says the Father is greater than I in John 14, verse 28, they take that to mean that he is saying Allah is greater than I. And of course, if you're going to take that verse seriously, then you have to ask yourself, did Jesus actually say those words? And if he did, well, then our Muslim friends have to leave Islam because Jesus referred to God as Father. So all that to say that in the Quran, the idea is that Allah is believed to be the one referred to in the New Testament as the Father. Mistake number 2, Surah 5, same Surah, verse 166. In the previous verse, we're told that Allah is a third of three. Well, if Allah is a third of three, well, then who are the other two? Well, the answer is given in Surah 5, verse 116. And when Allah saith, O Jesus, son of Mary, didst thou say unto mankind, take me and my mother for two gods beside Allah? He saith, be glorified. It was not mine to utter that to which I had no right. But if I used to say it, then thou knewest it. Thou knowest what is in my mind, and I know not what is in thy mind. Lo, only thou art the knower of things hidden. So in this passage, there's this dialogue between Allah and Jesus. And Allah asks Jesus a question. He says, O Jesus, son of Mary, did you say to mankind, take me and my mother for two gods beside Allah? Now we see who the three are. The three that are referenced here in Surah 5, verse 73, the three are Allah, Mary, and Jesus. Those are the three that the Quran points out are worshipped by Christians and say that Allah is a third among them. That's why you'll notice that Jesus and his mother are being referred to here as two gods beside Allah. And so the charge Allah is asking is, did you say to humanity, did you say to mankind to take me and my mother as two gods beside Allah? And so here you notice that the Quran commits the second mistake, and that is the mistake in thinking that Christians worship the Father, whom the Quran thinks is the term used for Allah. They worship the Son, Jesus Christ, and they worship his mother, Mary. No Christian in history has ever said Mary is a member of the Godhead or the Trinity. No Roman Catholics, no Eastern Orthodox, no Protestant Christians have ever said that Mary is a person within the Trinity or a person within the Godhead. God is 3 in 1, not 4 in 1. God is the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. But the Quran confuses the belief in the Trinity, even though it never uses the word Trinity. It thinks Christians worship Jesus, Mary, and Allah. No, they don't. That is not the Trinity. That is a major distortion of the Trinity, which calls into question, if God really did inspire the Quran, how could God get what Christians believe so wrong? You can't get more wrong than this. And so, once again, Christians do not believe that Mary and Jesus are two gods beside Allah. Christians do not believe that Mary is a part of the Trinity, a person in the Trinity. And Christians do not believe that there are three gods. Mistake number 3. Notice these are all coming from the same surah, 5, Surah Al-Ma'idah. Surah 5, verse 72. Compare 5:17, where the same words are used. They surely disbelieve who say, Lo, Allah is the Messiah, son of Mary. The Messiah himself said, O children of Israel, worship Allah, my Lord and your Lord. Lo, whoso ascribeth partners unto Allah, for him Allah hath forbidden paradise. His abode is the fire. For evildoers there will be no helpers. Notice here that the disbelievers are not only saying that Allah is a third of three, but now they're saying Allah is the Messiah, son of Mary. And then it reiterates that in the Qur'an, the Messiah himself said to the children of Israel, worship Allah, my Lord and your Lord. And if anyone ascribes partners to Allah, that's shirk, the sin of shirk. For him, Allah hath forbidden the paradise. Now, why Jesus would address the children of Israel is very strange indeed, because the children of Israel were not worshiping Jesus. In fact, the majority of them rejected him. And so for Jesus to tell the children of Israel, worship Allah, my Lord and your Lord, why would he have to tell them that when that's what they were doing already? And so when the Quran says that disbelievers say Allah is the Messiah, what they are thinking is they're thinking that we're saying that the Father is the Son. And why do I say that? Because remember, Muslims think that references to the Father in the New Testament are references to Allah. And so to the Muslim, the Father spoken of in the New Testament, God, the Father, is Allah, the one true God, even though, again, they don't attribute the word Father to it. And so what the Quran is saying here is that the disbelievers, the Christians, believe that Allah, who is the Father, is the Messiah. And no Christian believes that. No Christian believes that the Father is the Son. That is a heresy known as modalism or Sabellianism. The idea that God is one person who has three modes or three faces or wears three masks. No Christian believes that. This is the belief of heretics and heretical movements today, like the Oneness Pentecostals and so forth. And so when the Quran says Allah is the Messiah and Muslims take Allah to be the corresponding term for the Father in the New Testament, they're affirming something Christians do not believe. We don't believe the Father is the Son. And so when Muslims say, well, if Jesus is God, then is he talking to himself? And that shows you that when they hear God in the New Testament, they're thinking the Father. And if Jesus is the Father, how can the Father talk to the Father? And there you see the mix-up, because they don't understand the distinction of persons in the Trinity. And so what we have seen here, folks, is we've seen 3 mistakes in the Quran concerning the Trinity. Number 1, they confuse the Trinity with tritheism or polytheism, that the Trinity is 3 gods, and that each of the persons is a third of the 3. That is not Christian theology. That's not the Trinity. That's partialism. We don't believe that the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit are thirds, like fractions or 3 slices of a pie. We don't believe that. They're not thirds. The Father is fully God, the Son is fully God, the Holy Spirit is fully God, and they are co-equal and co-eternal. Number 2, we don't believe that Mary is one of the persons in the Trinity. She's not part of the Godhead. And to say that the 3 are Allah and Jesus and Mary is a grievous distortion of what Christians actually believe. And so mistake number 2, we don't believe that Mary is part of the Godhead. And number 2, we don't believe that there are 3 gods. Now, finally, thirdly, the Quran goes on to say that the disbelievers say Allah is the Messiah, the Son of Mary. And the Allah, again, they correspond that to the Father in the New Testament. We don't believe the Father became the Son. That, again, as we noted, is a heresy called modalism. So at the end of the day, we have to ask this question. If God inspired the Quran, and the Quran is his eternal word, how is it that God misrepresents Christian beliefs? We can understand Muhammad doing it because he's just a man. But God? How could God make such an egregious mistake? Which leads us to the conclusion, if God didn't write these words, then who did? Well, whoever wrote them did not know what Christians believed. And that certainly cannot be the one true God who wrote the Quran. Thanks again, everyone, for joining in this short video. I trust that you enjoyed it and that you'll like it and share it. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel. Thanks again, everyone. Take care. See you next time. Take care. God bless.